What up, TCK Potters? I'm your host, Sky Gloster. This is episode 186 of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Podcast, joined always by my man, Lukas Kaser. Lukas, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to. Obviously, they're not going to know, but we recorded a live mock draft, and the audio did not want to cooperate with us. So I'm ready to hopefully get this out, not live, but live for us.
It happens, man. It happens. And, I mean, we record so many episodes, one or two are bound to go every once in a while. So we'll do the best we can for you. On this episode, we are going to do something special, man. We haven't done a mock draft in 2020 yet. A lot of our content so far has been recapping 2019. You've heard Daniel come on to recap some of our stuff. Lukas has done all sorts of things. If you follow our Twitter, you know that we're deep into the rookie draft and following up with the combine. If you're on IG, you know that we broke down all of free agency as well. So we've done a lot of kind of prepping things, but now we finally get into a mock draft, man. I know that you and I are excited to do that.
Sure.
What we're using here today is an awesome tool. I highly recommend everybody use this. There are many other things to mock draft on. Obviously, all your big platforms, ESPN, CBS, Yahoo, whatnot. Sleeper app is a great one if you're in a group of people or you want to hit real people. This one here, though, the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. If you're not watching YouTube, that's fantasypros.com and their draft wizard on there. I've been using it for years. I know Lukas has too. We're going to kind of walk you through a couple of the things that they offer on this. Fantasy Pros is not a sponsor, unfortunately. Hopefully someday we'll have some collaborations and whatnot, but we just use their tool and we think it's very, very helpful for us and certainly you. So we highly encourage you to use it. Let's just start really quick and run through what the site actually has. So you could pick your league type. Right now we're going to do a 2020 PPR draft, but you can obviously pick Dynasty as you see there. The scoring, we have the standard, the PPR half, and then custom leagues. So I play in a keeper league. I play in bonus scorings. Lukas plays in a lot of super flex leagues. You can change all that stuff right here on the draft wizard. The draft type, we have snake, obviously. So that's 1 to 12, 12 to 1 through your draft, and linear as well if you're doing rookies. Number of teams is super cool. So most leagues at this point are 12, 10 maybe, 14 maybe, but you can go 30. I know that Smitty Fantasy Football Show has a league right now going with 96 teams. Of course, the Scott Fishbowl League, that's a big one as well, so you can do everything there. The draft position is something we're going to play with here in just a second, but you can pick 1 to 12, obviously, and if, of course, we were in a 36-team league, that would increase as well. Let's go down to the roster positions really quickly here. So we're going to go with pretty standard for this particular mock. That's 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, regular scoring with PPR, and then just 1 flex. But as you see on here, we could have 10 flex positions if we wanted to. We can have that super flex with the quarterback. We could have defenses and kickers. We're not going to do that. And we're going to do a shorter bench for sake of time here. I generally play in about 7 to 8 bench spots just in case with IR and all that. We're just going to do 5 for this mock draft. Lukas, why don't you jump back up to the draft position? I'll let you take it from here. To make it fun, now we can choose our draft position if we wanted to, which we might in a later mock. To make it fun and to make it a little mysterious for us as we do this, we're actually going to do it randomized. So, Lukas, I'll let you take it away here. Let's randomize maybe 3 times, and then we'll take it from there.
Sounds good. So I'm going to hit it one time. We'll see what it lands on. And then we'll do it again. And then obviously the third time is what's going to stick. I don't really know if I'm wishing for one. We got the 10th. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I haven't dug into really redraft ADP at all or anything.
I'm kind of liking the back of drafts, to be honest with you. So let's get into it. And again, many of you may have used the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard already. So that's
yep. And
probably.
I guess another
and we
thing
are
too.
we are recording live, right? Just want to make sure.
Yep, we're all good.
Perfect. I just want to walk through maybe like a round or two. But obviously we'll switch off. But Lukas, that's great. Why don't you grab those really quick? We are not on a timer too, so we can go as quicker or slow as we want to. Why don't you explain some of those tabs on the bottom there?
Yeah. So when you go to cheat sheets, these get updated all the time. These are from the ECR, which I know we've talked about in the past. These are from the ECR, just directly correlated to here. You can display top 20, I think all the way down to top 50, 10, whatever the case may be. You can also, I know in season you can change that to individual analyst rankings. Just right now it's the ECR. You can hide drafted players, but I kind of like to see it being crossed off more so than hidden or not even shown at all, just to kind of see how the draft's flowing. And then you can reorder. I think you can input your own if you're a part of the ECR, which we are not, but we do have the tool. But we're going to go on the draft board for the sake of the video, the people on YouTube, so they can kind of see how it's flowing. You can also go back in and change the pick. We're not going to do that at all to make it better for us, but we are up at pick 10. Obviously,
I'll let you kick off the first round, man. So we are doing PPR. Now you can see on the left-hand column as you look at the screen here. Now you can see right now we won't do all these picks because you can see them. But CMC, Saquon, Michael Thomas, no surprises there. Zeke, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Hopkins, and Devontae Adams are the first 9 off the board. So for those of you on the podcast that can't see what we're doing here, you obviously go to our YouTube, check it out, the Candlestick Kids on YouTube, and you can check this episode out. It'll definitely probably be more user-friendly for you to see what we're actually doing. But you can see right on here, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, and Chris Godwin are the experts' recommendations that we pick. You can see the percentages, you can see the breakdowns, you can see their bye weeks and all these other things. We can also look for a particular position if we wanted to. Lucas, generally in the back of the first round here, what are you looking for? Obviously, we have everybody but 9 players available to us. Do you want to look at a high-profile running back still because we only have 4 picks until our next one, or do you want to go with a top-tier wide receiver?
Yeah, I think as of now, I guess I can show the receivers too. We have Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper. And if you actually I don't want to say you plan out the next picks, there's 4 picks back to us. I have a feeling one of those top 3, Tyreek, Julio, and Godwin, is going to fall back to us at this pick. And if we go look at the running backs, I have a feeling that Derrick Henry might not be there. As much as I'm not a big fan of Derrick Henry in the long term and in Dynasty and all that, I think in redraft, as much as I'm kind of against him, I still think he's going to be tremendous this year. They had the one Jack Conklin left in free agency, but I think they're going to revisit that offensive tackle in the draft coming up here. But I think Derrick Henry over Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb. Obviously, Kareem Hunt's still there. I just prefer Henry, the consistency a little more. Are you against that or anything else?
Not necessarily against it. I actually just cranked out my first set of rankings. I'm not going to release them to the public, as we mentioned, until after the NFL draft. We still have another month, but I've been looking on them here. So actually, I do have Nick Chubb at number 7, Derrick Henry at number 8, and Aaron Jones at number 10. My biggest thing is Derrick Henry is not utilized in the pass game very much. We know that. If Nick Chubb becomes Dalvin Cook on his workload from last year, plus what he's already done with Kevin Stefanski coming through, I'm not even worried about Kareem Hunt, to be honest with you. I do think the Browns' offense gets better. He does have Conklin. Derrick Henry does not anymore. Personally, if it were me, I don't think it's a fan favorite, but I might either look at those receivers and look at one of those running backs coming back. I like Tyreek Hill, love Julio Jones, of course, but I agree with you that we could come back. Here's the deal. Can you go to the cheat sheet real quick, and we'll speed this draft up, obviously, in the next couple of rounds. Circle down just so we can see it here. So if I look at the running backs, we have Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and Nick Chubb, and Austin Eckler. After that, that's the top-tier running backs are gone. If I look at the receivers, I've got Tyreek, Julio, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper. After that, I still have a number of number 1 wide receivers. So because we're at the back end of the draft, I'm more of like a receiver kind of guy in PPR. However, I think we should go running back at this point. I think Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry are similar. So I think Derrick Henry's a fine pick here. I do worry overall, but I think right now this is fine. And there is a chance we might be able to get another one of these running backs coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I haven't made my projections or anything yet, or actually looked at.
Boom.
Yeah, actually, Kenyon Drake back around 1. We'll just kind of move on to that. We don't need to spend too much time on it. So I went Kenyon Drake, Aaron Jones. I expected Aaron Jones to go right away after or beginning next round. Chris Godwin and Nick Chubb. So like I said, we could pair running back. I think Eckler might be the only guy I would maybe take, maybe Jacobs. But I still think there's a significant tier drop off. But we can still get, I think Tyreek Hill or Julio Jones has to be our pick here. Neither are a bad pick. Kind of how do you want to play this? So we have Derrick Henry, so we kind of have the floor running back. Mm-hmm. We can go here and go with the floor and Julio, or we can hit Tyreek and try and build the floor in the next couple rounds. How do you want to take this?
I have Tyreek Hill at 3 and Julio Jones at 5. Mike Evans, I'm fading. I'm also fading Amari Cooper a little bit. Not that I dislike either guy. I just think that Chris Godwin and Michael Gallup will kind of even that gap a little bit more. Honestly, man, with the floor of Derrick Henry, I think Julio is very safe for the floor, but Tyreek Hill, man, when he goes off, he goes off. Number one overall 2 years ago before he got hurt. I'm feeling Tyreek. Let's pull the trigger.
Yeah, same here. And I think honestly, we have a ceiling with Derrick Henry that we saw last year that isn't going to affect the floor, if that makes sense. Because Tyreek Hill, we do see the boom bust games here. So we're going to keep moving on. Kind of the lower end, I'd say the guaranteed high end wide receiver twos, lower wide receiver ones of Kenny G, Amari Cooper, OBJ, Mike Evans, all the way down to sort of starting the DJ Moore of wide receivers fall. We do see 2 tight ends go in round 2, George Kittle first and Travis Kelce 2 picks after. I got to ask, are you going to be on the those 2 only, I think, tight ends in round 2 or 3?
I'm not. No way. I mean, middle to back of round 3, if I get a top running back and a top receiver, or 2 top running backs, 2 top receivers, I would definitely consider one of those tight ends in round 3, the middle or the back of. In the second round, no chance.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning that too. I was a little bullish on the tight ends last year, just kind of with how it all played out. I haven't, obviously, like I said, I haven't gone too much into it, but I think as of now, I need to be off it. And then we see Leonard Fournette and Jacobs go back to back. Then we see Mahomes and Lamar Jackson going round 3 in a 1 QB league. To be honest, I think that's kind of late for where they might actually go come in season time. I have a feeling that that's going to be kind of like, I think they're ADP, but I think you're going to see a lot of drafts where they're sneaking in right after, I want to say, Amari Cooper and Kenny Galladay, because I think that's where people start to worry come OBJ, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp. What are your thoughts? I know you're not a big QB early guy, but what are your thoughts on them for this year?
I mean, if you're going to go QB early, obviously they're the 2. Again, in the 3rd round, it's the same thing with tight ends. I have a few different mindsets with this, so it's hard when I answer questions about it, because I think to myself, like, okay, do I want to pass on George Kittle and Travis Kelce? Hell no. Like, I want them on my team, but do I want a 2nd round pick for them? Probably not. Do I want Mahomes and Jackson on my team? Obviously. Do I want to spend a 2nd, 3rd round pick on them? Not really. So my whole thing is, I either fade those guys to get all together and go late round on both of them, or I might pick a high-profile tight end or a quarterback and then get the other one late. I'm not going to do both, though. There's no chance. Like, I'm not going to – no matter how the draft falls, I'm not going to pick Derrick Henry, let's say, and then, Travis Kelce and then Patrick Mahomes in the first 3 rounds. I just think there's so much more value elsewhere later in drafts for those positions and at running back and receiver.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to think of the whole draft, or at least the first 4 rounds, which are the money makers to me. Or I don't want to say the money makers. They put you in the contention for the money, and in those back ends is kind of where you build up the championship odds here. So I'm going to move it over to suggested players to consider before I go into where I think we should take this. To me, there's one guy I think he has to be it, just since we're kind of building. We went that boom bust with Tyreek Hill. I'm looking at Keenan Allen right now. RB7, wide receiver 6 or 7 last year in full point PPR. The floor is going to be great. And I've mentioned it before, no matter what quarterback they get, he's going to be the main target. It's not going to affect his volume. As much as I like Courtland Sutton and Juju and Devontae Parker below him, I think Keenan Allen sort of rounds out that high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1. And if we compare him with Tyreek and Derrick Henry, I think that's a very solid trio to start.
I don't disagree. For sake of argument and looking into this, because we can with the draft wizard, can you go back into cheat sheets for me real quick?
Yep.
And look at the running backs. Now, you often tell me this when we're mocking, so I just want to take a quick look, because we're still in that conversation of elite running backs, and this is our last opportunity, I think, potentially maybe the 4th round. Let's just look at them really quick. Todd Gurley, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell, Melvin Gordon, Mark Ingram, that's probably it. Any of those guys that you would be disappointed if they don't come back in the 4th round?
As of March 30th, Le'Veon Bell is kind of my guy in Dynasty and redraft at his ADP. I'm not even going to go into why. I'll break down all the stats. That'll be on a completely different episode. But I think he's the only one that I would be like, darn, he didn't come back to me. I should have taken him there. But I think that I'm not saying it goes directly off the rankings. The draft wizard does, but I have a feeling that Keenan Allen will not be there in 3 picks versus Le'Veon Bell. So I think we should go him to pair with that wide receiver 2 that was a wide receiver 1 last year and has been in his career, and then take a shot that maybe Le'Veon Bell or Todd Gurley, maybe even like Mark Ingram or someone falls back down to us.
10 seconds or less. How do you feel about Todd Gurley right now?
Redraft, pre-draft, redraft, and pre-NFL draft, I think he has to be the RB 11, 12 range. Haven't made any rankings yet, but I think unless they add a premier back in this class, they're obviously confident in him. We can't predict injuries. We can't predict how the injuries are going to hold throughout the season. But the Falcons, a high-powered offense, being confident in one running back with his backup as Brian Hill has to mean something for fantasy, especially redraft to me.
Todd, I'm with you. I'm down to go with Keenan Allen, and maybe we'll get Gurley on the way back, but he would be the guy that I would be a little bit bummed to miss out on.
And he did go.
Sure enough, he did. However, we do have Le'Veon Bell still available if you wanted to go. That we also have Juju, Devontae Parker, and Stephon Diggs as well.
Yeah, I think it has to be Le'Veon Bell. He's going to see elite production. He's just not going to – there's elite volume. He's just not going to produce elite production just with the state of the Jets. But yet again, we got two floor running backs with Derrick Henry and Le'Veon Bell. Our boom receiver with Tyreek, Keenan Allen, and even the ceiling of Derrick Henry. I think it's a good pairing that I think might happen a lot because I think people are extremely undervaluing Keenan Allen just because of the quarterback situation and Le'Veon Bell for I don't really know what reason because the Jets team didn't get any worse. It just hasn't really gotten any better. So I'm gonna go ahead and snag him here.
Deal. How do you feel about Chris Carson? I mean, same arguments. I just think there's more upside with Chris Carson personally. Yeah, Rashad Penny's not going to work out. They are going to draft a new running back, I'm sure. They have DK and obviously, they're going to be chucking it this year. But I think the Seahawks, when they get down there short, they're going to be pounding it like OG, Marshawn Lynch. So I love Chris Carson there as well. Le'Veon Bell has the upside with the receiving skills for sure, and he's going to get the work. So I don't hate the pick per se, but I think – if I were to do it again, I would maybe make more of a case for Chris Carson over Le'Veon Bell because it's such a shit show with the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. And probably our listeners know I'm not a big injury play with guy, and that might limit me in a sense to maybe my overall league. I don't want to say winnings or success because I play a little conservative and maybe take chances here and there. I take calculated risks, I guess you could say. Carson's injury, as much as they said he's going to be fine, still kind of scares me because Rashad Penny's not going to get worked out, but neither is Chris Carson. And I'm not saying that's I can't draft him, but I just think that I'd rather take the guaranteed 250-plus opportunities now and then maybe revisit that if we learn more, if the circumstances change here. As we move down, kind of that group of Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Devin Singletary, Marlon Mack go, as well as all the high-tier wide receiver twos. I'm not going to name them all. Basically, Stephon Diggs all the way down to Tyler Lockett with your mix of Robert Woods and A.J. Green. And then we do see Zach Ertz, there we go, we forgot to mention. Then we do see Mark Andrews, tight end 4, come off the board, and Darren Waller, tight end 5. And now we're up.
There's a couple things here. I want to consider quarterback if it makes sense in the next 2 or 3 rounds, or which we're looking at, obviously Deshaun, which I'm fading without Nuke. Yep. It just doesn't make sense. His ADP will even out, so I'm not considering him. Russell, Kyler, and Dak are the only ones that I'm considering in the next maybe 3 rounds. Other than that, we have we have our 2 running backs, 2 receivers. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so if we look again, I personally, out of this group that we're looking at, DK Metcalf, Jarvis Landry, Debo, Michael Gallup, actually, I really like all of them. Mm-hmm. I'm DK Metcalf all day as a wide receiver 3 with the upside to potentially be the wide receiver 1 there. We already have the boom bust, the huge plays of Tyreek Hill, and the consistency in a PPR league of Keenan Allen. I think DK Metcalf could potentially be a perfect meld for those 3 guys.
Yeah, what I was going to do is I was going to cancel out Jarvis Landry and let you pick out of these 3 because I think that's kind of the wave of it. But yeah, I'm gonna go DK. I don't think there's a bad pick there. Obviously, all 3 of them aren't going to re-break out, if that's how you want to label it. All 3 of them aren't going to do what everyone is projecting them to do, but the chances of 2 of the 3, I feel like it's pretty likely here. We'll move down here. Antonio Brown. I'm gonna edit that real quick. Antonio Brown went.
Put maybe Debo in there. I think he was next in ECR.
I don't know why Antonio Brown. Come on, Fantasy Pros and John Brown. Okay, he went again. I'm gonna put Michael Gallup.
Can you just get rid of him?
Yeah, that's true.
That sucks because I wanted Michael Gallup, but that's fair.
All right, so we make our little adjustments here. for on the fly here. We got Antonio Brown still being drafted. It'll probably happen more often than not in your home drafts. Someone might believe.
Well, it's silly at this point of the year. I get it. I mean, I'm definitely a guy who like picked up Rob Gronkowski in all my dynasty leagues in week 16 of last year. Why not, right? At the same point, if you're trying to get a real mock draft in, drafting guys like that, letting Andrew Luck come off the board and shit, it does mess with what you're trying to actually learn from right now. So I think that's a great move that we eliminate him. Now, personally, I was going to make a case for Michael Gallup here as our fourth receiver, but I think he would have gone off there, him and Debo and Landry. So all four of those guys we just talked about are out. We have a running back coming up now, or again, a quarterback. Let's check the running backs real quick.
Yeah, so I think the way we can look at this is we'll go back to the quarterbacks first. I know that we do not like Deshaun Watson here. Kyler Murray did go, but I know we both like these three quarterbacks, and I don't. I think come redraft season, I think we're going to advise people to not reach if there's a tier left. So I think we should hold off maybe till next round on that. They might all go, but I kind of interested to hear maybe your thoughts on where we should take this from here.
Okay. So with these guys that we're looking at right now, again, podcasters, I'm going to try to do my best to explain everything happening. YouTube, you can see it here. So Kerryon Johnson, James Conner. And again, these are the experts' recommendations of what we're actually looking at here. So Kerryon Johnson, James Conner, Damian Williams, David Montgomery, James White, and the artist formerly known as the starting running back for the Broncos, Philip Lindsay. So we don't know that Philip Lindsay is traded to the Chiefs just yet. So I'm going to wait for that. But let's see here. Honestly.
Or we could go tight end too. We can look there. There's not much though. Okay.
No. Okay. So running back I think is good. Let's take one quick look at another receiver.
Yeah,
just with what's looking here. Okay. Tyler Boyd is definitely interesting. He would be the only one I'm looking at right now. Well, let's go back to running backs really quick just so I can explain that. Tyler Boyd would be my only wide receiver choice. Running backs wise, love Kerryon Johnson the last 2 years. Scared shitless to draft him, especially in the sixth round right now. I'm going to bail off that. I'm into James Conner personally or David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery definitely has a bounce back. I think he has a way better chance with Nick Foles right now, just opening up the offense a little bit. And Nagy wants to use him as much as he can. For me, it's between James Conner and David Montgomery.
Yeah, I think that the only thing with James Conner is the Steelers actually said today that they're planning on drafting a running back. I think
they are, and they have Jalen Samuels and Benny Snell as well. So it's going to be a crowded backfield. I'm 100% with you. I just think it's James Conner's backfield to lose if he's healthy, and I think he would be for at least the start of the season. So he would be my call right now, but I would be okay with David Montgomery. I'm not into Kerryon, and I'm just not feeling Damian Williams if it's not a playoff game.
Yeah, I don't really want to play the Damian Williams game all over again. So I think we go two ways here. I think we take the volume floor of David Montgomery or Tyler Boyd. I'll let you pick. I think either way, they're a bench piece that could potentially break out with either Joe Burrow or the resurgence of the Bears offense. So what do you think here?
Okay, so we can see here that it says ECR 67 for David Montgomery, correct? Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, can you go to wide receivers really quick and look what Tyler Boyd says?
73.
73, okay, so a little bit lighter. I'm wondering if, what this comes down to, and this is what's fun about this draft. I'll tell you what, we're going to do an experiment right now because we can with this app. So let's go with, which one do you think has the better chance to come back to us? I think David Montgomery would.
I agree. I also think neither, but I think for this sake, I think Montgomery has a better chance if you want to go Boyd here.
Let's pick Boyd and see what happens.
It's like playing the lottery right here.
That's right.
Wow. Oh man.
Oh, so close. So close. Okay, so here's where we're at. So if we look at our team, we have Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, Le'Veon Bell, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Boyd. So we have 4 starting receivers, 4 top-end receivers. Tyler Boyd was basically a wide receiver 2 with A.J. Green. He could even get more as he develops. Now, I'm only going to do this once, but I want to demonstrate that you're able to do this. Can you please go to a revert pick?
Yep.
And let's pick David Montgomery instead and see what that team looks like. So literally what we're doing here, and you can see on YouTube, but for podcasts, we're literally just taking that pick. We're just eliminating it like it didn't happen, and we're throwing it back into the pot. So Tyler Boyd did end up going as well, which you were right that both of them went. Now, how do you feel about, now that we've seen this, how do you feel about Derrick Henry, Le'Veon Bell, and David Montgomery as our running backs versus Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, DK, and Tyler Boyd as our wide receivers, knowing that James Conner's still on the board here?
I think the way we can look at it is I'm going to pull up, if you're on the podcast, you're not always going to be able to see. I'm going to pull up the cheat sheet and show which running backs and receivers are left. It's tough for me because I think that Tyler Boyd, compared to all the rest of these receivers, is so much better. But then again, I think the same for the running backs, but I think less, if that makes sense. I think the gap between Tyler Boyd and, per se, Sterling Shepard, who's the best available right now, is much greater than David Montgomery to like James Conner, Ronald Jones, Raheem Mostert. So do you want to go back, or do you just want to keep it with how we have it?
Man, this is tough. I do think they're the two best options here. Personally, I'm kind of feeling Tyler Boyd as the fourth option there as a wide receiver, and then we can just start pegging running backs.
I agree. I think it'd be the smarter pick. Obviously, you can trade one or whatever the case may be. So now we're officially back and rolling here. All the quarterbacks are going. Good for them. I'll just take one in round 10.
That's fine.
I don't even know what round we're going to.
So now we're looking at. Did any of our quarterbacks last?
No, not a chance. We're down to Matt Ryan was the last one taken. So kind of that the gap where people freak out about quarterback, take the veterans when they can just wait and get similar production kind of in the end. Sort of that gap, I guess you could say. I mean, we can pull them up here. Like Carson Wentz, Matt Stafford, Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield. I think like we could take even Daniel Jones later. I think it's all kind of similar.
Of this group, so the ECR is telling us to take Carson Wentz. I'm telling you right now, let me pull him up real quick in my rankings here. Carson Wentz, I have him at 15. I have Matty Stafford at 11 currently. I actually have Daniel Jones, I think, a little bit higher than some folks here. Where's he at? Yep, he's in my top 15 as well, number 13. I think it's a little early. We might be able to wait this wraparound here, but I'm good with Matt Stafford personally. I think he's gonna have a huge bounce back with those weapons. But let's look at another running back here. Man, all these guys seem the same. I think there's question marks all around. Basically, my picks right here are going to be James White or Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I was going to lean Raheem Mostert. Let's play the upside. We have Derrick Henry, Le'Veon Bell. They're not getting their jobs taken this year. As much as the Adam Gase dropping off Le'Veon Bell argument you want to make, he gave the man 300 touches last year after admitting he didn't like him. So no correlation there with anything. I think Mostert, as of now, when we're drafting, he is the starting running back. I mean, maybe not in volume, but he is the most efficient running back on a run-heavy team that is efficient. They got 2 first-round picks. They're going to add more talent, only going to help Mostert. I think that's probably the pick here.
Another thing, too, a quick 49ers point. They do have a lot of running backs that's going to scare a lot of drafters away. I'm not interested in any other running back other than Mostert. I think in the 7th, almost 8th round, I'm good with that because I'll take the risk. The biggest thing is, like, Tevin Coleman is who he is. He's going to score 3 touchdowns randomly in the game, and everyone will freak out, but he's going to get 4 yards of carry and be a plotter or whatever. Matt Breida is probably going to be out of town by the next time we do a mock draft. Jeff Wilson, I love the guy, but he's not quite ready yet to take over. And Jerick McKinnon might break his leg again, so I'm not worried about him. So I think it really comes down to Mostert. Even in a timeshare we saw last year that he was very effective. So I like that a lot. And I love me some James White. Anybody that's listened to the podcast over the years know that we love James White. I'm just not sure what they're going to do in New England without Tom Brady. And when Rex Burkhead is healthy, and he's still in New England there, when he's healthy, James White is not James White because they kind of play the same position. Sony Michel is going to get the running, and Damian Harris, who we didn't even see last year out of Alabama, was hurt. He's going to come back for basically his rookie season this year. So there's going to be a lot of, and I think they're going to run the ball a lot. And James White is just not that dude. So as much as I love me some James White, I think I got to pass this year.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I was just searching if you're watching on YouTube. There was like those rookies in this. I think for the sake of this, we should just not draft them.
I agree. Yep.
I don't want to mess with all that. So now we have 5 rounds left. We need a QB tight end, then we just need to fill our bench.
Let's hear your first official Browns take of the season. How do you feel about Austin Hooper?
They're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, and I don't think I want to touch Austin Hooper. If Landry and OBJ are out there, he's the 4th option behind Chubb, OBJ, Landry. Last year, he was the second option when he was breaking out on a pass-heavy team. I don't want the 4th option on a run-heavy team. I'm looking at one guy here, and I know it's risky. I'm looking at Evan Ingram. And I know that the injury history is scary, and I like to stay away from it here. But to me, when you take into account we are very deep. We're 3 deep at running back, 4 deep at receiver. I think we could afford to take a chance on Evan Ingram, who we know the potential's there if he stays healthy, and then maybe just draft a tight end the last round. Because, I mean, if we're just going to try and fill what we need a quarterback. I like Stafford too, but I still think there's guys down here that we could just wait till the end, maybe take 1 or 2. Even like a Tom Brady, I think he has a similar outlook as Matt Stafford this year. So I guess, I don't know, what are your thoughts on Ingram, or maybe should we go build more running back depth? Or
a quick note on tight ends. Again, I just did my first blanket round of rankings, so all these are I'm sure they're gonna change. But in my first ranking of those guys available, Hooper, Henry, Ingram, and Tyler Higbee, I actually have Henry at 6, Higbee at 7, OJ Howard at 8, Austin Hooper at 9, and then Evan Ingram down at 11. That's strictly based on injury history. So Ingram, according to my rankings, would probably be the last of this bunch. However, I hear your mentality and thought process between the upside. And you're totally right. If he does get hurt or something, then we just stream tight ends, which we might have to do anyway. I'm okay to fade Hooper. I love the fact that, first of all, Brandon Cooks is about to leave the Rams one way or another. Todd Gurley's already gone. And when Tyler Higbee became the guy last year, he was basically the focal point of that offense with Cooper Kupp. I think we could maybe wait another round or 2 and get him, or get your boy Noah Fant. I like Blake Jarwin, who's not even being drafted. Jack Doyle's out there. Instead of tight end right now, let's take another look at receivers or running back and see if there's one more gem out here with only a couple rounds left.
Yeah, I think we can kind of a similar concept for Evan Ingram. We could take a shot on Will Fuller if we're really feeling it. I don't know if I feel comfortable like putting him into our lineup. Obviously, some mock draft. We're just showing strategy.
He is the number 1 as of right now.
Yeah, so I don't. I'd rather take him than any other guy on the board like Sterling Shepard, Mike Williams, because those guys aren't going to play over our 4 receivers. Strictly based off really anything. Obviously, bye weeks we might have to like fill a guy in, but like there's not even a matchup I think would draw me to play Sterling Shepard over Tyler Boyd. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So if you want to go receiver, I think Fuller's the move here. We could look at running backs too.
Do you think, while you're getting to running backs, do you think that Will Fuller obviously benefited from Nuke Hopkins in Houston? Now that Nuke is in Arizona, let's just hypothetically, Will Fuller actually plays 16 games. Do you think he is going to get that hyper target that Nuke did, have the efficiency and the touchdown upside that he's always had with Deshaun Watson when he plays? Or are you worried that now that Nuke is gone, Fuller being that number 1 actually may hinder him a little bit, as he's the one getting double coverage, and really Randall Cobb and Kenny Stills were the only other 2 taking away looks?
I think
that's my concern with
yeah, it's a tough question because
Will Fuller.
It's tough because he's injury prone, and I think people are going to be like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." He's tough because he's injury prone. So we haven't seen him sustain even the workload he does right now over a season. And then now you take into account you want to project that, which we haven't been able to do, and then now also project him being the number 1 wide receiver. I think it's just a tough question to answer now. I think personally, I think they're at like 40 or something in the draft. They're going to go get the best receiver available. Bill O'Brien, as much as he is part of a GM, this man has we don't even.
He go.
Like, so I don't I don't know. I think compared to the running backs that were on the board, there's not much. I think Fuller would be the play here. Maybe he has one big week and we just flip him or something. And then I think we need to attack tight end and quarterback the next couple of rounds.
How about this? I'll throw this out there. He's kind of the poor man's, not the poor man's per se, talent wise, but he's the poor man in sustainability wise for Tyreek Hill. If Tyreek Hill goes down, we don't have another receiver to be that guy. So I kind of like that because we have Tyreek Hill. I like the next level of boom bust, and depending on matchups and whatnot, I think that's a good second fill.
I agree. I agree. So now we come down here. Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, and Higbee went. I think that basically just means we're going to keep waiting on tight end, if anything. I do like Higbee a lot this year. I think that it's another. If Cooks is gone, they ran a lot of two tight end stunts with Cooks back at the end of the year, and I think he's out the door. It's just a matter of time, which will only help Higbee. Obviously, that just makes sense to add it up here. I think we need to go quarterback here because I do think Matt Stafford has been staring us down for a while, and I'm big on Matt Stafford having a comeback this year, big enough to him maybe
Same.
being like a low end QB1. I don't think we can project like MVP numbers or anything quite yet. That'd be my pick, and then I think my next pick would be Brady after that.
I have Matt Stafford at 11 and Brady at 12
Boom.
right now, and they're both getting drafted. Look, dude, we're in the back of the we're getting into the 10th round here, and both would be that guy. So we're in the 10th round. We only have 12 rounds total, so we have basically a tight end plus two other bench spots to go. We're not doing defense. We're not doing the kicker. So for me personally, I'm kind of feeling, let's take one more look at those tight ends. At this point, I feel like it's, for me personally, I'm feeling like Jack Doyle, OJ Howard, who's still available, or we can look at Blake Jarwin, who, again, I just think is going to have a nice season for Dak without Jason Witten around. I know nobody's talking about him. Jonnu Smith's still available too. Honestly, I think we should look at our bench because there's plenty of tight ends, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's really any reason to reach out here. We're just going to kind of go through. Actually, I'm going to go to flex. That might
Ooh,
make some tight
look
ends.
at your boy E. Sanders floating around in the
No,
10th
stop it.
round.
I'm not drafting him at all this year. There's no way. There's no path to success that's better than what he's had the last 2 years, and that hasn't been much. So we
It
can.
just it just feels good to have a breeze receiver in the 10th round. You know
I
what I mean?
guess. I guess. So we can look at this a couple different ways. Personally, to me, with the team we have, I would lean Alshon Jeffrey here. I get that he's probably not. I don't know if he'd be higher in your rankings than Marvin Jones or even like Slayton.
I
But
don't even think I put him on my sheet. Let me double check.
I just think that he would be the pick here because, like we said, we now have. Let me do some math real quick. He'd be our wide receiver 6, but when he's healthy, he's putting up wide receiver 2 numbers guaranteed. Obviously, they might draft a receiver, but if they draft a receiver, him being healthy is only going to help it. What are your thoughts maybe on this pick?
As of right now, just knowing the history of Alshon Jeffrey and being super jaded from his days with the Bears of getting hurt all the time, I've got him down at wide receiver 42, which I understand is extremely rude and probably unnecessary. However, there's no other weapons over there, which could be a plus for him, I guess. But I think he's a guy that needs to have that second weapon. There just isn't one yet. So as of today, not feeling Alshon Jeffrey. Marvin Jones, who I happen to love, and I get him late in drafts every single year. Plus, I like that tandem with Matty Stafford. I've got Marvin Jones up at 35. So I've got him about 7 spots higher there at the back end of wide receiver 3.
Yeah, so I think I kind of neglected running backs here. I'm going to kind of propose a whole nother
Let's
scenario
do it, man.
here. So
We got to talk through it, bro. We only got one team, and you and I are trying to agree on it. That's why we're doing it. It's cool.
So I think here we could take this two different ways. We could play the floor at the running back for Jamal Williams or AP, because let's face it, AP is going to get volume. He'd be our running back 4. Or I think we could go the handcuff route with a Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison. That might be reaching it, but I feel pretty confident in what the team we've built together to where we stayed true with our late round QB, late round tight end. We're not really going to need a guy like Jamal Williams as a running back 4. I think that when the time comes that we match up bye weeks, whatever the case may be, we'd eventually figure out like a streamer, whatever the case may be, that'd probably have better value than those guys. So personally, if this is me here, I would go ranking the handcuffs. I would go Tony Pollard, Madison, Justin Jackson, Justice Hill, and then probably Nyheim Hines you could rank as a handcuff. That's probably how I'd rank the handcuffs here.
I have Justin Jackson higher. I've actually got Justin Jackson, Alexander Madison, and then Tony Pollard. Um, I just think that, I mean, we saw what the Chargers were able to do with Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler over the last couple of years. I understand that Rivers is gone now, but a rookie quarterback, no matter who it is going to need that safety blanket, and it can't be Austin Eckler all the time. So kind of feeling that. Also, I think that Alexander Madison and Tony Pollard are true handcuffs where, in my opinion, with what the Chargers are going to have to do with the rookie quarterback, I think, and even Tyrod, I think Justin Jackson eventually is more of kind of a, I don't want to say a committee fully, but I think he has his own role.
He will be, though.
So, he will be in a committee, or?
Yeah, he will be at least. I think even 100 opportunities is still low on projecting him. I think, yeah.
Cool. So okay, I guess what I'm saying is between those guys, the handcuff guys, and maybe we're over talking it, but I think the upside, if Madison or Pollard, if all three of these guys were a starting running back because their dude goes down, of all three of those guys, I think that Madison and Pollard obviously have the larger upside. I just think without predicting injury, Justin Jackson has the best opportunity to get his. And I do think that, I mean, Austin Eckler is a workout beast, but with all that work, he could get hurt. So we'll see what happens.
Let's do it. I like that.
Perfect. Okay. So we have a tight end and a bench spot left. Now in a normal, like a 7-8 bench redraft league, I personally usually draft two quarterbacks. It's not necessary. We only play one quarterback, but I'd like to have two guys that I want that I can fluctuate. And if one of them gets hurt or sucks, then I can just, throw them back into the pot. But for this, we're not going to do that. So basically we're looking at tight end, and then we just have a flyer at the very end. And maybe we'll get into one of those handcuff running backs. Right now, we're looking at our tight ends. We have T.J. Hawkinson, O.J. Howard, Jack Doyle, Jonas Smith, Eric Ebron, now with the Steelers, of course, Ian Thomas, who might be the wide receiver 2 in Carolina, Kyle Rudolph, and Irv Smith, who are just going to eat each other, so we won't do that. And my boy Blake Jarwin, again, not even mentioned. We don't have to pick him. I'm just throwing it down there. I see you got him plugged in.
That's who I'd pick. Not going to lie to you. I think when you're picking here, you have to pick breakout tight end. Like, this is like Mark Andrews' pick last year. You're not.
How about O.J. Howard, though, if you're thinking like that? I know it burned us last year. If he's 70% Gronk, he's top 5.
So how about, I think what we could do is we could go O.J. Howard. I think my initial rankings, I would probably rank Howard and then Jarwin close.
Well, both.
That's what I'm saying. I think we go Howard here. I'm just going to do it. And if Jarwin's there, I think we ended off with Blake Jarwin. Oh, Antonio Brown going right after Jerry Jeudy. You love to see it.
Well, Jerry Judy's better than Antonio Brown, is what it says.
They're both not on a team right now, so that's why the ADP's close.
Fuck, dude. So that Julio comment straight pissed me off. Sorry, I don't want to go on an AB rant, but.
I think we got to do Jarwin. The man, I think I said like 166.
185 ECR, dog.
I don't know.
He's got a round 18 ADP right now, and people don't even draft past the 16th round. I'm telling you guys, right now, it's fucking March 30th when we do this. I'm telling you right now, Blake Jarwin is going to be a 12th round pick when it all comes down to it in August, and that's still a value.
Here's the thing. Do you know where Jason Witten finished last year?
I can look it up. Are you looking it up too?
Yeah, let's see if I can get it. Okay, so here's the thing. No one can tell me that at this point in Jason Witten's career, Blake Jarwin is not more athletic than him. He will not play more snaps than him just because Jason Witten was X amount of years old. I'm not even going to try and say.
Tight end 11, 122 points, right behind Dallas Goedert and ahead of Mike Gesicki, 8.9 fantasy PPR points per week. Blake Jarwin's going to get 10 minimum, and if he were to get 10, according to last year, that's a top 10 tight end with upside, I think, of top 6.
Yeah, I think
he's my Mark Andrews of last year.
How you have to look at it is, say you slide him into Witten's production, which I'm not going to do. I hate doing that, but for this case, we're going to do that. He's a tight end 11 with the athletic ability to rise up. Randall Cobb is gone. They have so many holes on their defense, they're not going to add a receiver in the first round, not even the second, because they have that many holes in their defense because, obviously, cap space issue. It's the managers, he's slipping my name, Jerry Jones, just ruined the team. if you slide him into that tight end 11, the same amount of targets as Jason Witten, one, he's going to turn that into more yards. And then you give him some of Randall Cobb's. It's just too good to be true, I think. And a guy like Amari Cooper's not going to command more targets than he already did on a per game basis. So I'm going to take Blake Jarwin here. I'm not even going to look at the grade. We got a C, a 74 out of 100. I don't know what they're grading because, yeah, I don't know.
So let me actually explain that because it's a big deal and people like hit me up about it and they, I'll do mock drafts by myself all the time. I'll post the results on Twitter and I get like A- and don't really like the team, and then I'll get a fucking C and be stoked about it. What the grade is about on Fantasy Pros is basically according to the experts. How did you grade?
Okay.
This is not. So here's the deal. If we revert all of our picks and we go back and we pick the highest ranked person according to the experts on the particular draft with our team, we're going to get A something. We're going to get 94, 95. But that's not always the way we want to do it. So there are a couple picks in here. Like I'm okay with Derrick Henry and I'm okay with Le'Veon Bell. If I were able to pick other running backs, I am probably not going to be drafting either one of them very often with what we have going on. But I like the stability and the ground game. So actually, to round out the episode, man, we are done with the mock draft. We only have the 12 rounds. Lukas, why don't you run down our team really quick, just position and who we have, just as it reads there. And of course, YouTube can see this, but for the podcasters, let them know what's going on. And then why don't we just quickly, again, talk about each position, what we think about it, and maybe we'll feel better than a C.
Yeah, for sure. So Matt Stafford at the QB, we would probably have added another quarterback come next round or 2 round, whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
Derrick Henry, Le'Veon Bell. I love that combo so far this year. Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, O.J. Howard, or Blake Jarwin, DK Metcalf, Tyler Boyd, Raheem Mostert, Will Fuller, Justin Jackson, and then Blake Jarwin, just like I said. The combos I think we put together, I don't know if they're going to be there come this summer, but Derrick Henry and Le'Veon Bell is the perfect floor combo, which that's how I play fantasy to me. Unless you're getting a top guy, you're playing floor running backs, pairing them with you're building your team around the receivers unless you're getting a top guy. And I think we did that perfectly. We got probably the best fantasy receiver in fantasy. Obviously, it's just not as consistent. Keenan Allen, top 12 wide receiver.
Highest upside at least with Mahomes if he's healthy. Yeah, sure.
And then you built a DK Metcalf / Tyler Boyd switch off flex. DK could easily be the Seattle's #1 receiver this year, and we've seen how.
So could Tyler Boyd.
Exactly. So I think it's really good.
And Will Fuller is too.
Yeah, and I think we mixed in sort of how I would take my bench in an actual league, an actual draft. Like I said, I like to say calculated risk. So I think we did a good job of mixing the calculated risk and 2 potential breakout tight ends.
A couple of the names I want to mention here that we didn't go over necessarily. Raheem Mostert is the top running back. I think by far the most talented running back on, if not the most run-heavy team in the league, the second or third behind the Ravens for sure, but maybe the Titans. But the Niners are definitely up there. Raheem Mostert, as we saw in the playoffs, absolutely beasted, and I just think he's going to outrun Tevin Coleman. We mentioned Justin Jackson, who could potentially get his anyway. But if Eckler goes down, he's a #1 running back as well, and that could be possible with Eckler's stature there. And then O.J. Howard, of course, super wild card. I was definitely the dude driving the O.J. Howard bus last year, and it blew up in my face like everybody else. But they just didn't use him. It's not like he just went shitty all of a sudden. Yeah. He's a beast. He's huge. He's super athletic. And if Tom Brady has his way in Tampa Bay, which I think he will, he's going to have to use the tight end and maybe the tight ends, making Cameron Brate a sleeper for 6 touchdowns. That'll piss everybody off. But then again, Blake Jarwin, I think, is a top 10 tight end that literally nobody's even thinking about right now because the ADP hasn't caught up. But honestly, man, I have concerns about Le'Veon Bell straight up. I did last year, told everybody not to draft him. Chris, I'm gonna throw Chris under the bus one more time for Le'Veon Bell because I know he's listening. Chris and the commish crew went with Le'Veon Bell, and it hurt him down the stretch. I hear you. The Jets didn't get worse, but losing Robbie Anderson does not make them better. And Rashard Perriman coming in is not going to help draw anybody away unless Sam Darnold can take a huge step forward to make defenses honest. I just don't think Le'Veon Bell is going to be great. However, as an RB2, behind the stability of Derrick Henry, I can dig it. Why we drafted him, I can dig it. But a solo pick, I don't think I'm going to have Le'Veon Bell in any of my teams this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll break down probably teams or players, whatever the case may be,
Love those receivers, though, man. Tyreek, Keenan, DK Metcalf, who's a top 12 for me right now.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd again, and Will Fuller. I mean, I'll take 8 games of Will Fuller over most receivers in the league.
Exactly. I love it. Well, first ever mock draft of the 2020 season. We'll probably do maybe once a week or once every other week, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, maybe like 55 more mock drafts before
who knows if it's even going to be a season. So we might just keep doing this till next season. So
jeez, maybe this is our season. Maybe we just mock each week, and then we build teams and we put them together, and
we'll play it on Madden or something to make it realistic.
That's what's up. All right, if you're still listening, man, I shouts out to the podcasters. Make sure you go check out our YouTube, please. The Candlestick Kids YouTube page, and then the YouTubers. Make sure you check out our podcast as well. You can find us anywhere podcasts are up and about. Please leave a rate and review. Give us subscribe and a comment on our team right here on the YouTube. Of course, you can find us on Instagram, where we're most active currently. That's fantasy football _TCK pod. That's at fantasy football _TCK pod. And then on the other side for Twitter, you can find us at TCK _pod. We do have Facebook and articles from Mark. It's going to have our rankings and redraft as well. Check that out. That's tckpod.com, tckpod.com. Lukas, any final words for the people?
No, nothing. I was trying to think of something clever, but that's about all I got. Everything you said, go check it out. We got a lot of big things coming, and we will see you guys next time.
Lock and Mullins, we out.
Peace.